edition of LiR Confidential, and absolutely we have a legend with us today, a living legend with us today, Brendan Quinn, all the way from Maherafelt, Donegal, and wherever you want to meet up with him anytime along the road. Brendan, it's great to have you on the show.
Good to be here, Pat. Nice to talk to you this morning. A beautiful Easter Saturday.
That's right, yeah. A second rising, we'll call it, right?
Second rising is right.
I was just talking to you before we just came on air, recorded this, that I was listening to that piece of music, Will We Ever Be Free?
Yeah.
I love the arrangement. It just resonated. How did that come about, Brendan?
Oh, it just came about by the pandemic. We were, last summer, we were, as you know, we were locked down. All music stopped. Something that you've been doing for like 55 years. All of a sudden, no gigs, nothing, no musicians to talk to. You can't visit anybody, limited to. So I was stuck in the house here, and I started to do a Facebook page every day, 4 o'clock every day. And we ended up doing 100 of them, 100. And we decided that we would stop it on the 29th of June last year, which was the day that Varadkar said that the country was going to open up again after the big lockdown on the 29th of June. So we kind of timed it that we would have 100 days done by then. So
yeah,
we knocked it on the head after the 29th of June. We stopped. It was a bit of a pressure now because my wife was involved in it, you know, and I was taking up a part of the house every day at 4 o'clock, and we had to kind of work our life around this 4 o'clock thing. But this song that we're talking about came about just in that summer. I just was footing about with lyrics and stuff and trying to come up with something. And this is what happened. Yeah.
The particular arrangement, who was responsible for that?
Oh, that's me. That's myself.
That's you.
Yeah.
And the musicians you did all, you'd know them very well anyway, Brendan. Would you, the musicians you picked to be around?
The one of the main men was a Cork man called Pat Crowley, a lovely man. He's from Cork. He played in Mary. He does play with Mary Black and has done for years. He said, apart from being a fantastic musician, he's a composer as well. He's written some great tunes that people have recorded. And Pat is now living about 5 miles from me here over in Donegal.
Oh, because you see what?
Yeah, in a wee village called Rossnakill, just over the road from me. Yeah. And Billy Robinson, who produced it, lives down in Ramelton, which is about 12 miles away.
Yeah.
And I just decided I had 4 songs lying about, and this new one. And I thought, I'll get a hold of Billy here and see what we can do with these 4 songs. So we got Billy and Pat on keyboards, Lawrence Doherty on drums, Peter O'Hanlon on guitar. And we went in and we just did it as a kind of a one-off. There was only one instrument that was overdubbed, and that was the accordion. The rest of them were all down. Just the 5 of us put the song down live. And that's the way it was recorded. And I wanted to do another vocal on it, and Billy wouldn't let me. He said, "Look, leave it alone, it's great." So that's the way.
You're dead right, because sometimes the very first take is nearly always the best.
Well, that's what Billy said. Look, he says, you may mess that up. He said, look, leave it alone, it's all right. And, I thought at the time when we were recording the song, I thought, well, at least if I mess up the vocal here, I'll get doing it again.
Yeah.
But I didn't get doing it again.
Yeah. Do you want to give us a verse, Brendan?
I will. It's called Will We Ever Be Free? And if I can get the right arrangement here. Stuck here in lockdown, my whole world is upside down. I can't even drive my car to town. tell me I'm too old. I gotta stay home, cocoon. Can't do no one come to call me like a nap in the afternoon. Came out of nowhere, hit the world so fast. Nobody knows if it's ever gonna pass. Conspiracy and the power that be makes you wonder, will we ever be free? Will we ever be free? Sitting on my front porch, just listening to the birds, reading pretty love songs no one's ever heard. And I'm thinking hugs and kisses and grandkids on my knee. I never knew how much I'd miss my friends, family. Came out of nowhere, hit the world so fast. Nobody knows if it's ever gonna pass. Conspiracy and the power that be, hey, makes you wonder, will we ever be? It came out of nowhere, hit the world so fast. Nobody knows if it's ever gonna pass. Conspiracy and the power that be makes you wonder, will we ever be free? Will we ever be free? Just between you and me. Will we ever be free? Or something like that.
Beautiful, Brendan. I loved it. And even that's like, do you know something? I think you're one of the lucky ones. You didn't really lose the voice with age. It's like a wine, you know?
Well, I am very lucky. I always count my blessings because I know all my contemporaries, the late Brian Call. Brian lost his voice to a certain degree. He used to be a fantastic yodeler when he was in his prime. He had this brilliant tenor voice.
Oh.
But then he lost it. He couldn't yodel anymore, and he still had that lovely mellow voice on the lower register.
Yes.
I never had the height that Brian had. I mean,
Right.
I was a baritone all the time, you know.
Yeah.
But Brian had this lovely tenor voice.
And of course, you knew Brian well, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I knew him for.
It was still a shock that the man died. I know he was a nice.
Yeah, and the circumstances too. He took a heart attack in the van, and he was trying to get to the hospital, I think, or something. He actually died on the roadside.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he did. He knew that he was in trouble. I spoke to his daughter, Kathy.
Yeah.
And he knew he was in trouble that Saturday night, and he tried to get out of the vehicle. I think it was at some kind of a supermarket car park or something. And as he was walking, maybe he was going to get some medication or something, but he didn't make it to he kind of fell on the car park street. Very sad. Very sad.
Yeah. And now you just going back to yourself. You grew up in Maharafelt.
I did, yeah.
What was that like growing up as a young boy, if you can remember it? Had you a big family?
Oh yeah, there was all told. My daddy was married twice. He had 2 kids to his first wife. I have a half brother, or had a half brother and a half sister, both deceased, Jimmy and Susanna. Yeah. And then his first wife died, I think, in childbirth. And he swiftly married my mother because he was a young man. He was a blacksmith. And he was a young man with 2 kids and just lost his wife. So he met Mommy and they married very quickly and they had 12 more. So there's 14 in our family.
I didn't know there was that many. Jeepers.
Oh, yeah. And when I was growing up, when I was aware of things, we'll say, I was born in 46. So in the middle 50s, I'd have been 10 or that, and be aware of all around me.
Yeah.
I remember very well, my daddy was a blacksmith and my grandfather was a blacksmith before him. My grandfather owned the house and he had his own room in the house. And I can remember all that. Very busy yard, horses and tractors. And my mother kept pigs. She reared pigs from little piglets up to, bacon standard.
Yes.
They were sent away then to the bacon factory and she would have got a check every so often. And that kind of reared us because the blacksmithing was kind of dying down and horses were being replaced by tractors, and the blacksmithing business wasn't as lucrative. My mother was very clever. She knew exactly what to do because she came from a farming background. And
where was she from?
She's from South Derry. She's from about a little place, townland called Drumock. It's only about 10 miles from Magherafelt. Same area.
Yeah.
But she knew exactly what to do. And she sent me and my brother David, who's now deceased, round the town on wee carts lifting swill or brock, as we called it.
Yes.
Old potato skins, hard bread, blah, blah, blah. And most of the people would have kept it in a wee bucket for us. And we went around every day, lifted that, brought it back home. She would have mixed that with meal, pig fattening meal, and fed it to about a dozen pigs down the yard every day. And she'd worked that, she cleaned them out, and she got her a check every so often. And that's how we were reared.
And would you say, I know I come from a big family myself, of course, I'm originally from Cork, but would you say that the fact that you had a big family, a large family, just generally speaking, it was a happy time growing up?
Oh, yeah, it was. I can't remember any hard times at all.
Yeah.
We used to run over to Garda's shop as youngsters, when we get KP peanuts and wee toffee bars, and you were a penny chew or a threepenny bit, or it was all very innocent. It was great.
Yeah.
I had a good childhood, I have to say.
Well, that's and then tell me, Brendan, what brought you to the music at such a young age?
Well, I had an elder sister. My mother would have sang a song.
Yeah.
But my elder sister, Philomena, who was she was actually the eldest in the second family. She was Mummy's eldest.
Yes.
She was born about 41. So she's about 4 or 5 years older than me. And she had a fantastic voice. She sang in a band, a Kelly band, and she sang in all the local dramatic productions, pantomimes and stuff like that. She was well into that. Big, strong voice. And I used to follow her around the house singing. She used to be singing these Connie Francis songs and Brenda Lee songs and Walking Back to Happiness and Helen Shapiro and all kind of stuff. And I ended up, walking around the house after her singing these songs. And that's where I got my inspiration.
Yeah.
And then I got a guitar at some stage. I can't remember how I got it, but there was a wee skiffle group in the town that were practicing in a local shirt factory that the family owned. They were practicing up on that shirt factory, and I used to go up and listen to them. I can remember the T-chest bass and the washboard, and there was one guitar player called Sean McKee, he was very good. He knew his chords, and he was the kind of the band leader. And he told me that if I was able to learn the guitar, that I would get a job in the group as well. So that's how I started playing guitar.
And are you self-taught?
Well, Sean McKee would have shown me the rudimentary chords, like the D's, yes, the G's and the A's and the C's. And I can remember like a couple of winters sitting in the house, strumming this thing, trying to master these chords, where I normally would have been out playing snooker in the local snooker club or something.
Yeah.
But I got this guitar and I was determined that I would master it. And I just sat and just strummed away, practiced away until my fingers actually bled,
Okay. And so tell me then, when did you get the call to join the Malachy Doris Cayley band?
Well, yeah, I was making waves. Philomena would have sang with Malachy. She probably told him that she had this young brother who had played the guitar, and Malachy gave me a shout one day, and there was a factory dance, a Christmas dance in the local factory in Cookstown, yeah, called the Dinty Fit. They made ladies' underwear, and they had a Christmas dance for the staff every Christmas in the canteen. And that was my first professional engagement as a young guitar player and singer. I got a couple of quid for it, I suppose.
And how long did you stay with them, Brendan?
But Malachy then morphed into a kind of a show band. He had a Cayley band, and then he had an old time band, and then he wanted to stay in the business, so he bought a couple of new microphones, and he called himself the Granada Show Band, and that went on for a couple of years. And then we started our own wee band. All this happened, in the kind of 62, 63, 64, 65, somewhere around there. And
was that the Breakaways, is it?
Yeah, the Breakaways kind of formed from the Malachy Doris band. Sean McKee was a big part of that. My brother David, who's deceased now, he was the drummer. And a couple of local fellas just around the town. Just young guys trying to throw shapes and make tapes.
Did you travel around much, or did you stay local, mainly local? Did you travel around much?
We initially were locally, but then we started to get popular. We started to get work. I remember going down to Carlow to carnivals and places like Rathvilly and Tinnahealy, and we marquees and stuff. We branched out a wee bit, but then I made a record then. I made a recording in 1970. I recorded a version of Help Me Make It Through the Night by Chris Christopherson, along with 3 other tunes. Yeah. We went to Dublin one day and recorded these 4 songs, and that was released on a record label called Velvet Records way back in 71.
Help Me Make It Through the Night, was it?
That more or less got me started in the recording thing.
You got noticed then. Did you get noticed after that?
I did. There used to be a program on RTE on Radio Awareness. It was then on a Saturday. It was called Airs and Races.
Yeah, Val Joyce.
Presented by Val Joyce.
Yeah.
Now, in those days, if you got to play on Airs and Races, that was a big thing, because there was no music on a Radio Awareness at all. Out from the sponsored programs and stuff like that, there was no music.
Yeah.
So there's no Radio 1 or 2 FM or any of that stuff. So you had to get Val Joyce played this like 2 or 3 Saturdays in a row.
Yeah.
And mentioned the fact that this is a new singer and was quite enamored with this new voice. And then I got a song called It's 4 a.m. a couple of years later. And that went to #1.
It did. I was reading about that. Did you get to meet him at all, Farm Young?
I did. I met him outside George Jones' club in Nashville one night with another DJ called Big T, who worked for Downtown Radio up here in the north.
Yeah.
And Big T was very popular on the airwaves, and he used to be invited out for the CMA Awards every year because, you know, he was a country DJ. And we went to the Possum Holler one night, and I met Farron Young, who's a smaller man than me, and I'm not a very big man.
And yeah, he was
a wee small guy. And he was very drunk. He said, "You stole my song in Ireland," he said.
But 4 in the Morning was the #1 hit. Then, were you with a band then? When did the Bluebirds come into vogue?
The Bluebirds came in. I started the Bluebirds in 1976.
Yeah.
I was with a version of the Mighty Avens for 1 year. It was just the Mighty Avens name. All the original members were gone.
Yeah.
And the band leader, Jimmy Smith, he owned the name of the Mighty Avens. But Gene had left to form his own band, the Homesteaders, and most of the remaining Avens went with him. So Jimmy was left with the name. And he owned Velvet Records, so he enticed me to start this new Mighty Avens as the front man.
Yeah.
And that lasted for 1 year. And then I decided, no, this is no good to me. I want my own band. And
right.
I started the Bluebirds then in February of 76.
And where the lads in the Bluebirds, did you know most of them beforehand? How did they gather around to form the band? How did you?
Well, yeah, two of them were in the Breakaways with me way back. Eddie White and John Bates, the two horn players. But the rest of the band were new. Stevie Morris was a young guitar player. He was only 16.
Right.
So he was new. There's a guy called Brian Winters, the bass player. Didn't know him either. And I didn't know the drummer, John. I just advertised looking for musicians, you know.
Now, I was reading a lot about you since I phoned you, Brendan, and I'll tell you, you had some life. If people want to know about Brendan Quinn, you know, there's plenty of articles on you. But the Bluebirds, I think got 20 years out of them, did you?
I did, yeah, I did indeed. The Bluebirds were hugely successful. We started in 76, and from that until about 96, we were kind of, you know, those 20 years.
As I said to you, I remember the Bluebirds playing down in Cork, the Marquee. I mean, just the amount of people.
Yeah. There was, but in those days, like dancing was huge in those days.
It was.
I mean, if you had 300 or 400 people at a gig, it was no big deal.
No.
I mean, you had 2,000, you had a good crowd, but 400 people, like, I mean, promoters might have said to you, well, you didn't do as well as the band last week. They had 600. You know what I mean? If you had 100 people at a gig now, you'd be delighted. and Brian Call said a great thing to me.
Yeah.
God rest him. He was a very funny man. He said to me, Conor, do you remember years ago, he said, we used to play to 2,000 people with a 100-watt PA. And now we play to 100 people with a 20,000-watt PA.
I didn't hear that one before now, but I know where he's coming from. And when I mentioned to a few of my friends here, by the way, Brendan Quinn is our special guest on LiR Confidential here on LiRmedia.tv, and we're thrilled to have Brendan with us. There's a friend of mine sitting beside me here. You can't see him, but he can see you. His name is Tony Brown, and he is a big collector of show band memorabilia.
Yes.
And his brothers played in show bands as well with him. But he was telling me one night that the band, what band was it? The Bluebirds, was it? Yeah, in Limerick. You were playing a gig in Limerick, and they came back to your...
Yes.
his house afterwards for a cup of tea and a chin wag before he headed home.
Is that right? Jeez, I don't remember that. Did I behave myself?
We can't mention it on air now, Brendan, but it's everything turned out okay. But you know something, when I mentioned that you were coming on with us, and I said every single person to a person said Angelina. Brendan Quinn, Angelina. That's
Angeline.
Angeline. Sorry,
Angeline, yeah.
And
big song.
Where did you get that?
I got it. Well, it was recorded by Sean Ryan, who was the keyboard player with the Hillbillies. And he's a record producer. And he recorded it in 1979. But I got it from a big singer called Ed Bruce. Do you remember him? He did a bit of acting. He had a big, deep voice. And he had an album out about 1978. And one of the songs on it was Angeline, Would You Like to Dance Again?
Yeah.
And I recorded that. And Ray Lanham did another song from the same album called Girls, Women and Ladies. You remember that one?
I do, yeah. Ray Lanham.
Well, that's from the same singer.
Yes.
Ed Bruce. That's where I got that song.
You recorded Angeline. Obviously, I think it's recognized by everybody who's interested in music, generally speaking, as it being. That's been good to you, Brendan.
Oh yeah, 4 a.m. Daddy's Little Girl, Bandy the Rodeo Clown, and Angeline. They'll be my 4 big songs.
And you know something? He's one of my favorite men. You don't hear much of now. Is Mo Bandy. I love his style. I love his music, and that's a fabulous song, Bandy the Rodeo Clown. I love that song.
That was a huge hit for me up here in the north. Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we now getting back then to traveling. I was reading a bit about the Bluebirds. He toured Canada.
We did, and America.
Yeah. Oh, you can smoke away at your own house. I don't mind.
I've been smoking since I was a wean.
You know something? I meant to ask you that. You never managed to give them up.
I tried. In 1987, I was off them for 13 weeks.
Go away.
I was. My brother David died very suddenly.
What age was he?
He was 42.
Oh my God.
We were going to a gig one night in Cookstown, and his wife phoned me at 7 o'clock. She was very calm. She said, "There's something wrong with David, Brendan. You better come down here very quick." I says, "What's wrong, Geraldine?" "I don't know," she says, "but you may get an ambulance."
Oh, Jesus.
When I arrived at the house, David was drawing his last breath. He took a brain hemorrhage.
Oh, God.
And the 2 paramedics put him into the ambulance. I was there. We drove behind the ambulance to the hospital, which is about 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
And the 2 guys, I met them a couple of days later. He said, "Brendan, Davy was gone before he even got to the hospital." Just brain hemorrhage.
Jeepers, that's terrible.
So,
yeah. What about Yeah, go on.
Where were we? But I kind of lost my train of thought there.
No, you were over in Canada with the Bluebirds.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah. I can't remember where. I've lost my train of thought here now.
LiR Confidential is the program, and our special guest is Brendan Quinn of the Bluebirds fame. You probably heard of Brendan Quinn and the Bluebirds, and Angeline. I was thinking of the other song with what's his name, Louie Prima, Angelina.
Oh, Angelina. He's great. I love Louie Prima, man. And that sax player, Sam Butera, he's just something else. That was some band.
Oh, that was a fabulous band. And he had, of course, Keely Smith was a fabulous singer.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, apparently, that band was so tight that they used to rehearse. They used to rehearse after gigs. I mean, when you were finished the gig, you'd be tired. But Sam used to get the band in after the gig and rehearse them.
Oh, and of course he was
a real. Apparently, Sam was a real slave driver of a band leader. You know,
he was, and he was mad into golf, so much so, Brendan, that he bought his own country club and golf course.
Louie did, or Sam?
No, Louie Prima.
Oh, Louie Prima, yeah.
He bought
his own Italian American, yes.
So that he could play golf whenever he liked. He didn't have to get anyone. There's many stories about him, you know. But
yeah. I used to do it. We had a band one time called the Kicking Mule, kind of an alternative country band. And we used to do a couple of Louie Prima songs in the show. One of them was Closest to the Bone. Do you know that tune, do you?
Yeah.
Closest to the bone, the sweeter is the meat.
Yes, absolutely. Fair play. Look, well, Louie Prima, of course, I never got to see him, but I do a jazz program myself.
Yeah.
In another station, but that's how I came across Louie Prima.
Louie Prima, and another guy before him called Louie Jordan. Remember him?
Oh yeah.
The Jump Five. He was an alto sax player. Came from a big band, but he formed this wee 5-piece combo, and they were hugely successful. You know, doing songs like "There Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens" and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Louie Jordan and Timpani 5.
Yes, the Timpani 5. That's correct.
And what was the other song? He was "Choo Choo Chaboogie."
Choo Choo Chaboogie.
That's a great song.
Head to the station in the back of a hack. Deep and deep and deep and that and deep and da-da. Choo choo, choo choo chaboogie, woo woo, woo woo chaboogie.
And you know that's 80 plus years old.
It is, of course, yes. But that's the kind of music I like. I love rhythm. I love a whole band playing together. I don't like this idea of making records by stacking stuff up, doing a backing track and using a click track and all that. I'd rather have 4 or 5 musicians. Sit down, rehearse the tune, and then press record and do it like that.
Yeah, and I think people recognize that, and people do appreciate that, and would support that really. Now, when he was at the Blue, who were managing the Bluebirds at the time, Brendan, when he went to Canada and all that, when he got your...
The famous Charlie McBrien, a famous manager from Oma. He came to fame by managing the Mighty Avens way back. In the early 60s, when Larry had his first hit with the Jim Reeves tribute, and then Lovely Leitrim and Among the Wicklow Hills, all in the early 60s. Charlie was their manager.
So Charlie had the contacts, so...
With Maximum Dole.
The what? Pat?
He had the contacts, so...
He had the contacts, yeah, and he was very big with all the ballroom promoters. And do you remember a guy called Andy Creighton?
I do, yeah.
He was from Claremorris. He managed the Memories and he managed reggae bands. Him and Charlie would have been big friends.
Doc Carroll.
Doc Carroll was another one, yeah.
Yeah. And did you ever drive around in a Bentley like Doc Carroll?
Did I what?
Did you ever drive around in a Chevrolet like Doc Carroll?
Funnily enough, I did. I'll tell you the story. I in 1979, I bought this American car from. We were playing poker one night in this guy's house, and this guy was a plant hire dealer. He dealt in big plant hire, caterpillars and stuff like that, and he brought them in from the States. And we were playing poker, and I was making the remark that I was thinking of changing my car.
Yeah.
And he says to me, "Quinn, I'll sell you a car." He says, she's a left hooker, he said. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he brought me out to the garage and he showed me this huge
tank
Oldsmobile Tornado, big 2-door car with a huge big snout on it.
Yeah.
And spoked wheels, 13,000 miles. He bought it for his wife, who wouldn't drive it because she was petrified. She couldn't pass any vehicle because because she just couldn't drive it anymore. And it lay in the garage for about 9 months. And I bought it for a song, basically.
Go away.
Oh yeah, he had it imported and all. He had a County Down reg on it. And I brought it home and just retaxed it and blah, 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 and drove it around. And anybody that said to me, I just said, yeah, I bought it in America. I didn't tell anybody the story at all. I drove it around for 3 or 4 years. I did. I drove an American car, yes.
Yeah, and you sold it. Did you sold it on?
I sold it on, yes, of course I did, yeah. And I don't know where it's at now.
Yeah, I know. But so Charlie was your manager. Was he his manager all these years with you?
He managed me until 86.
Right.
And then we parted company. He took on a young singer called Dominic Kerwin.
Oh, yeah.
He was a young guy making his way, and Charlie hooked onto him. I kind of went my own way, you know.
Yeah.
Because I was winding down anyway, Pat.
Yeah.
Eventually put the band off the road in 86.
And you know, when you toured, I was reading a bit about you. You did an interview, I think, did Donegal Democrat there last year. Was it Donegal?
Yes. Yeah. Donegal News, maybe.
Donegal News, sorry. Yeah, that was it. One of them anyway. But obviously touring loses its appeal after a while. And obviously the older you get, you know, it's not when it gets a chore and boring, I suppose it's time to stop it, Brendan, is it?
Yeah.
And how many of you in your own family do you have?
4 kids. Me and Bernie are married 50. We'll be married 51 years in August.
Oh my God.
We celebrated 50 years last August, married. With 4 kids, we've got Julie, who's now 50 years of age nearly. Stephen, 48. Emma Jane, 40 something. And James, who'd be 41.
And are they all gone away around? Are they around?
Julie, they're all local in Magherafelt. Julie's a local midwife. Emma works in the NHS, a clerical job. Stephen is a drummer, a sound engineer. And James is a singer. James plays in a wedding band. In fact, he was on the road as a young singer in the early noughties, 2005 to about 2010.
Is that the James that did a duet with Philomena Begley?
No. That's Aidan Quinn. That's Philomena's son. No, James did a duet with me called "Talking to the Wrong Man."
Talking to the Wrong Man. That's the one I was looking at. Yeah.
Well, James he was on the road, I suppose, for about 3 or 4 years as a country singer, and then he threw his hat at it. He says, "No, this is not for me." So he hooked up with a cousin of his, and they formed a wedding band. And they were doing very well until this pandemic thing.
I know, it's just shocking altogether. It's
terrible. I really fear for the music business. I do, because I think it's on its knees.
Well, apart from not being able to gig, there'll be an awful lot of venues, I'm sure, and I'm not predicting it, but I would say an awful lot of venues will not open again.
That's the whole point. That's what I'm saying. When this whole thing all shakes out, how many venues will there be?
Yeah, the debt load for people will be too much to bear, you know?
Yeah.
And Brendan, so during the day now, how do you spend your day? Like, I mean, I know how I spend my day, but how do you spend your day? Because you'd always have a few gigs anyway, do you know what I mean? You'd always have a few gigs locally and all of that yourself. But how do you spend the day, you know, yourself?
It's a very simple day. I get up, I have my breakfast about 8 o'clock in the morning. I have a bit of porridge, and I'll probably go back to bed for an hour.
Yeah.
Kind of resurrect about 10 or half 10, footing about, go for a walk. I go for a walk every day. And that's about it.
And where are you actually? Are you beside a beach?
Yeah, we're on the Fannin Peninsula here, right in North Donegal. If you look at the map, you'll see Fannin Lighthouse.
Yeah.
You can't go much further. We're about 2 miles from the lighthouse. We're about 5 minutes walk from the shore here.
Yes.
Down the lane, and we're at the beach.
And how long are you living there?
Since 2014.
Oh, because.
Yeah, well, we've been coming to this part of the world on holidays for years. Like we had a caravan up here. There's a wee caravan park right beside the beach, and we were up here with the family. And then I got to know some of the locals, and I bought a bit of land. And I built a house in 2004 and moved up here permanently 6 years ago.
That's fantastic. And of course, you were going on holidays, so all the family and all the kids were used to going there anyway. To that area.
Yeah, they know the area well, and we're having a couple of them up now tomorrow. A couple of the family up. Julie's coming up because she's vaccinated, and
I'll be visiting my dad now tomorrow. He's 90. He'll be 91 soon. My own dad.
How is he, Pat? Is he in good fettle?
He had his injection. My brother minds him, but he's in good health. But obviously, because of his age, he's slow. But my mum died in November in a nursing home. She was 91.
Yes. And
in a nursing home with severe dementia, Brendan, and it's a shocking disease.
Oh, I know. I know. My brother Jimmy died from dementia as well.
Yeah. I knew nothing about it till my own mum got it, and it's just horrific.
Yeah.
The fact that we couldn't get in to see her made it worse.
I know.
I'm still mad myself. I'm still mad because, you can all come in now to see her now that she's dying. And we couldn't come in to see her when she was alive.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Nuts. But anyway, Shin Scale Ella, as the man says. So, Brendan, it's been an absolute joy and a blast having you along to fill in an hour or so on this on this very busy Saturday. Any chance you give us another strum of something, anything at all, you know?
What do you want to hear?
That takes your fancy.
What do you want to hear? Here we are dancing in a blue cozy light. Two total strangers unknown. I'm not gonna ask if you're married or not. I don't think it's necessary I should know. I wanna look at your finger, you look at mine. Keep all the questions to ourselves. All we need to do is exchange our first names. Angeline, would you like to dance again? Angeline, would you like to dance again? I may not be the best, but I'll be the best I can. I'll gladly change my dollar for the two-song quarter band. Angeline, would you like to dance again? Here we are waking, hours after dawn. Two total strangers yesterday. Still not gonna ask if you're married or not. I don't think it's necessary I should know. I haven't looked at your finger. I don't guess you looked at mine. Kept all the questions to ourselves. And I'm not gonna ask your number, but I'm always here by 10. Angeline, would you like to dance again? Angeline, would you like to dance again? I may not be the best, but I'll be the best I again. I'd gladly change $1 for the two-song quarter band. Angeline, would you like to dance again? Angeline, would you like to dance again?
Well, Brendan, there's no doubt. We'll have to have you on again, if you don't mind, because there's a friend of mine here beside me. As I said, he does a program called the Showband Show.
Yes.
He'd like to talk to you sometime soon anyway about different people. He'd know a lot more about it than I would, or than I did. Just reminding me, who's the keyboard player?
No, he mentioned John Ryan. John's the Hillbilly, a great musician. John Ryan was.
John Ryan.
John Ryan with the Hillbillies.
Oh, fabulous musician, yes. John's a great lad.
What happened to your old piano player, the guy you had with you, the Bluebirds? I thought he was going to Nashville. Who was the piano player?
The piano player?
Yeah.
Seamus Costello.
Yeah. What happened to him? Where is he?
Seamus is in Ottawa, Canada.
Yeah. Oh, he stayed in Canada.
He was going, yeah.
He stayed when we came back. He hooked up with another Irish singer called Robin Averill, who was working out of Ottawa, and he hooked up with him, and he's still there. Seamus is still there.
Because
you mentioned Malachy Dallas. Malachy Dallas was a very popular Cayley band, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, and he made a lot of records way back in the 50s and early 60s. Yeah,
I remember Malachy Dallas. Also, Charlie McBride. I knew Charlie well.
Did you?
How Charlie got into the band business was through a fellow by the name of Maxie Muldoon.
That's right. You're 100% right.
I know. Charlie hadn't a clue. And Maxie got him a job managing Jerry and the Ohio. My brother played with Jerry and the Ohio.
Yes. Did Charlie manage the Ohio?
He did. That's how he started. The first band.
Right, and then he got the Avons. But you know, his big one was he was huge friends with the Clipper Carlton.
That's Maxie managed the Clipper Carlton, you see.
That's right, and he was especially enamored with Hugo Quinn, the band leader.
He was, but Maxie fell out with the Clippers. Maxie went managing the ballroom for Albert Reynolds, Jetland Ballroom in Limerick. And Charlie got the job, but Charlie hadn't a clue. But Maxie set him up as manager.
I'll tell you one thing, he wasn't too long learning.
Oh, well, I know it. Charlie was a great man for rubbing his chin on his coat.
Totally
right. Like this here.
Audio only, but it's fine.
That's exactly. I tell you that. Then you mentioned Jimmy Smith.
Jimmy.
There were three brothers of the Smiths. Peter.
Right. That's right.
Peter,
you're right.
Jimmy. I can't think of the other brother. Right?
Paddy, the trumpet player.
Paddy, exactly.
Peter the sax player.
He went on to manage Gene Stewart then. And he managed.
He did indeed.
And he also managed, what's his name, with the high, everybody, thanks for looking at me. Thanks for
That's right.
The guy with a Philomena Begley voice.
You see now.
Well, I'll tell you this, before I go, I'll tell you this story about Charlie McBrien.
Yeah.
We used to meet up on a Sunday night, and Charlie would pay everybody and tell everybody where they were playing next week. And so Tuesday you're in such a place, Wednesday you're here, Thursday you're there. Somebody said, Jesus Christ, Charlie, how are we going to get all these gigs done? Charlie says, I don't know. You may sleep in a hurry.
Brendan.
Listen, one more question. How is Pat Chester's? Did you ever come across him?
I haven't seen Pat in years. He's still alive. Him and Ray Moore meet up the odd time.
Yeah.
And Leo Dorn. Do you remember Leo Dorn?
Leo's a barber, isn't he? I think
that's right. Leo's a barber.
Yeah.
And Pat took up photography. And I think Pat taught in the local technical school after he left the bands. Ray is still around playing the piano. He doesn't do much now. Ray's Ray's got a few health problems. His sight is not good.
Yeah.
And he's got diabetes and stuff like that. But I talk to him, and he puts stuff up there on Facebook quite regular. I talk to him quite a bit.
Yeah.
So of course we lost Artie McGlynn, the great Artie, last year.
Yeah. Did you ever see Artie to smile?
Oh, lots of times. Me and Artie were friends for 50 years. But he never smiled on stage except the odd time.
No, never. And a great box player, Artie. People don't know that. He was a great box player, Artie.
Oh, he played the box. He played the box until he was 8 or 9 years of age. Yes, of course. Yeah. That's where he got all the tunes from. He just transferred them from the box onto the guitar.
He did. Great. Brendan, you did come back to my house. The whole band came back to my house one night.
What town was that? Limerick?
In Limerick, yeah. You came back after the 2 Mile Lane, and I showed you some of my dance band pictures. I have between 5,000 to 7,000 pictures.
Jesus Christ.
And there's about over half of them dead.
Anyway, Brendan, thanks again for joining us, Brendan. Of course, we'll do a part 2 down the line with you. We only scratched the surface, and really, we do appreciate it here, all the lads here. And hopefully, you'll have a nice sunny day the rest of the day and enjoy.
It's looking good out there. I'll be get a walk. It's 1:15.
And get a walk. Enjoy tomorrow's dinner as well, to get together.
I will indeed. I will. Looking forward to the family coming.
And from our special guest, Brendan Quinn on LiR Confidential. Brendan, it's been a blast. We'll do it again soon, hopefully. And when we'll be putting all the program up on all our platforms, and I'll send you a copy. I'll email you a copy of the program as well, Brendan.
Good man, Pat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brendan, and take care now, and the best of luck.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now. Bye.